And of course there were some big picture issues being discussed there at the end about that bilateral relationship, but entwined around that most powerful in the world, the most powerful bilateral relationship in the world, it was the fate of one man, Chen Guangcheng, the blind dissident who was for almost a week holed up in the US Embassy, is now in a hospital in Beijing, and his future uncertain, although it sounded as though we came in halfway through the Hillary Clinton's comments in regard to obviously a question about Mr. Chen. It sounds like that fate, that future for Mr. Chen and his family is becoming a little clearer. As it does so, of course, we'll be reporting it here on ABC News 24. Still ahead on the program, we speak to the Greek National Broadcaster's Australia correspondent for his insight into this weekend's Greek elections. And in the UK, the English Premier League celebrates 20 years of wonder goals, and fans vote for their favourite.
What a time! In what a place!
With rapid changes in the Australian economy, up-to-date business and finance news has never been more essential.
You're watching The Business.
See how world events and international turmoil impacts Australian markets. Tiki Fullerton speaks to the experts and covers the biggest financial stories. The Business on ABC News 24.
You're watching The World on ABC News 24. I'm Scott Bevan. A reminder now of our top stories. China says blind dissident Chen Guangcheng can apply to become an overseas student like any other citizen. The development could potentially point the way out of the diplomatic tangle with the US over him. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has just said she sees progress in the case of Mr. Chen and is encouraged by the recent statement from China. A 16-year-old boy from New South Wales has died while snorkelling in Bali. The chief forensic doctor who examined the body of Jack McCabe said it appeared the boy drowned. Meanwhile, Australia has downgraded its travel warning to Indonesia, advising tourists to exercise a high degree of caution. It's the first time the warning has been at that level since the Bali bombings. Newly released files from Osama bin Laden's compound have revealed a frustrated and isolated figure. Made public on the first anniversary of bin Laden's death, they showed the al-Qaeda leader was worried about the future of his terrorist network, as well as losing the support of Muslims. The documents also indicate that bin Laden wanted to target the plane of the US President Barack Obama. And coming up later on The World, in a London park, the British military shows off the ground-to-air missiles it says will help safeguard the forthcoming Olympic Games. Well, as we mentioned earlier, Greece goes to the polls for national elections on Sunday. The country, as we know, has been racked by social upheaval, including regular street protests over the government's austerity measures. Parliamentary disagreements over the cuts led to the crumbling of an already fragile coalition government. Well, this weekend's elections are seen as vital for the future of the Eurozone. Alekos Markellos is the Australia correspondent for the Greek ERT network, and I spoke to him a little earlier this evening. Alekos Markellos, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Nice to be here.
With the ongoing economic and political crisis in Greece, what's the mood like among the voters there, and how is that likely to translate at the ballot box?
It's a very interesting question that nobody has an answer, because it's a totally different situation than in the past. Voters in the last 2 years, I would say that you can expect them to be very anxious about what are they going to vote in the next elections. But now, as the time has come, things are very realistic. There is the austerity measures, there is also the loan from the European Union, the IMF and the European Central Bank, and the rules that Greece has to follow in the next coming days, not even months. So there are deadlines that whatever comes out of the elections, the new government will have to face. And there is no delays accepted from the European Union and the IMF. The message was delivered even today by the IMF. Don't forget the measures you have to follow.
In regard to all of that, and with all of that as a backdrop, what do the polls suggest about the way voters are thinking? Are the voters going to use this election as a way to mete out punishment to the two main parties for how the economic crisis has been handled by them? Or will the voters use this as an opportunity to show faith and confidence in perhaps a new way forward in dealing with the social, political and economic crisis that has beset their country?
There is a major changing going on in the Greek political scene, and the two major parties will pay a price. That's guaranteed out of all the expectations from all the professionals. But the question is, should they vote or are they going to vote out of anger or voting for a better tomorrow? This cannot be answered by anyone, but only the results can show what really happened. What I can tell you for sure is that the situation, socially speaking, in Greece has gone to a limit that will create a new political scene. But the deadlines are so strong in place, and there is no options for many political parties to play games on that period.
When you say new political scene, Alekos, are you talking about new coalitions, or does new political scene mean a political mess?
Both. Both are possible because political parties, even some of them have been coming out from this period, don't really have a past of dealing together, doing things together. But now the circumstances are totally different. So there is either the possibility of the political parties which they will support the European tomorrow for Greece, cooperate together, or just not accepting dealing with the other parties, and then a mess will follow for sure, and it will not be only Greek.
So if that is one of the scenarios, what's the outcome likely then for hitting these deadlines? As you pointed out, there's a whole bunch of deadlines that have to be met, a whole lot of commitments under the bailout agreement. Wherefore then the economy in the future and the future itself of Greece, if there is this political uncertainty, what's the chances of hitting these economic deadlines?
Realistically speaking, there is only two options. Greece will either stand for the deadlines and follow the measures that are based on the schedule for the loan given to Greece, or it's going to be a disaster, meaning that in the next coming months, not more than two, Greece will have to follow even the hardest way, which will be going out maybe from the euro or going out from the European Union totally. This is a realistic situation, and Greece has to face both choices, either a political solution and a government following the plan, or following a very, very hard path that will affect Europe and the international economy too.
Yes, as you point out there, Alekos, this election, therefore, is not just important to Greece, it's important for Europe, for the integrity of the Eurozone.
The elections in France, I would say they're more important, but that doesn't minimize the importance in the elections in Greece. Whatever will happen, it will be a risk for the whole European Union, and I can tell you, talking with colleagues from Germany and other countries in Europe, they're really worrying about what it will come out. But still, I think there is a mature demand for the Greek political system to stand to the situation.
What about among the Greek electorate? Do they want to remain in the Eurozone, or is the feeling that the majority now want to get out?
If you would ask people under the austerity measures for 2 years being placed there and making their life really hell, they will tell you they don't really like it. But concerning the European future of Greece, I will tell you that the serious majority of the Greek citizens, even with the sacrifices they've been through, they would like to follow that path and they will do whatever it takes. But it's up to the political system to maintain the possibility.
Alekos Markellos there in Melbourne. Thanks very much for your time tonight. Well, two British men who have been blind for more than 20 years have had their sight partially restored by implants.